Okay, this is a pretty simple configuration that you can set up without any special tools inside of MetaTrader. You just take the 1 period moving average and you make it on highs only. So the indicator list, it looks like this. You just say, okay, how about high, simple, and this is what the channel's about. I just watched another supposedly simple advanced pattern course, and my head's still reeling, trying to process that. So the highs there are white, and the lows are black. And I put a really fat line here, about as fat as it gets. So just let myself know, in case I have any doubts of the ATR, that when the white and the black line are away from each other, hopefully I'm either cashing out of something or I'm getting into something. So this is the 1 minute chart, and I guess if you're sitting here with your finger on the trigger or you're watching orders get filled because of the traps that have formed overnight, and some of these traps just showed up this morning. So we had the painfully obvious head and shoulders pattern here on the 1 minute chart, putting our buy limits right at the shoulder. So you actually come over here, and since structure leaves clues, right, I think that's a tagline that probably is the only thing that you could really derive from empowered trading that makes any fucking sense. If structure leaves clues, then structure leaves order placements. The clues are the fucking order placement, man. Stop with the fucking advanced pattern shit. I'm gonna jump off a ship. I'm gonna jump out of the bottom window of this house. Put your buy limit back here. Does it fucking matter? Look how they crushed your buy limits, but here you made money, right? This is a grid here of 10 on the black and 5 on the dotted line. The spread is, with commissions, the spread's a half a pip plus commissions. So it's under a pip. So if your targets are 3 pips and your stop is 2 pips, that's break even. But you did make money. I mean, your risk is break even, but you did make money in that trade. So I wouldn't denounce that as a bad trade. I wouldn't put any type of thing on. Now, you could get in a buy stop, but now you're going to have worse situation, because if your buy stop is 5 pips away, now you're risking a ton more. Is it better to trade the market as it's created itself, or is it better to trade the like right in the moment? So 1 minute chart, if you'd sold up here on this trap, say you everything above here, you said, oh well, look at these guys are getting trapped up here, so let me start selling here. I put a crop of sell limits in here, and this very top one and look how they trapped just the very tippy top here. So if you look across this dotted line, that's how precise the traps are. That's how low risk you're trading. You have a stop here. You have a 5 pip stop, right? You can see it. Here is the this is 5 pips from here to here. That's 10. That's a 10 whole fucking pips. Now, if you're trying to make like this guy was, and they tore down his site, this guy that I was talking about that was trading real money without stops, and he's trading super big. Of course, one man's big, Biggie Small. That's why they came up with that Biggie Small guy. So, top here, if you have a buy limit sitting there, okay, but where's your exit got to be? It's got to be like really close. Yeah, sure, it could go up here later today, but it could also come back when the news comes out. And we're going to go here. We have to buy this now. And then our exit's going to be here and here and here and here. It's this constant roller coaster. That's what they call it. They call the market a roller coaster. Roller coaster. But that's because nobody likes the range trade. Everyone wants a trend. Everyone wants to ride that trend. Okay, so the buy stop bots got filled here. You can see them on the 1 minute. So either you got in there because this was the top become the bottom on the internal, or you just let that trade go by. There's another trade coming. This double top became a bottom here. They took out this trend line, blah, 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 1 minute, you know, on and on. So I got buy limits sitting here to get filled. Or I just scalped out. Like everybody's going to be bailing here, right? Last known support is supposed to become resistance, so everybody's going to bail here. And can it just shoot through? Yeah, depends what time of day it is. Of course, 5 minutes after the top of the hour right now. So here it is on this critical window here, and that is the, if you go to the 5 minute, all of a sudden the whole landscape changes. Now if these orders last an hour or they last 30 minutes, it's probably not dangerous. The danger would be if these orders lasted, say, all day long, and it turns out that this trap right now on the daily, that they've actually really indeed trapped the so here's your doji, right? We've all heard about the infamous doji, and here is the trap trade. So in a 5 pip window, mind you, with your stop could have been up here 20 pips away, and maybe your scalp was to here. Now the ratio sucks, but imagine you have a 5 pip stop on that trade and you're looking to make 10 to 15. That's a set it and forget it trade. I'm sorry, that's a 4-hour chart. But same concept, right? Here is the here's the trap trade here. So if you're only looking to make this many pips, you have sell limits in a 10 pip window here for the kickback. Here, this window for the kickback. And of course, if you look at it from a buy stop standpoint and a sell stop standpoint, an ATR bot would get in on this. This is a 20 pip wick to wick, and the body is tight. So I think if it has a tight body, this is the flag, you know, the 4-hour. Here it just keeps dripping down. They capture the breakout bots here, take them all the way to the low here. And you're only talking about 10 to 20 pip entry windows. You can build a position into that. So say you have a buy limit here and a buy limit here, because you know these are the new lows and everybody's going to be like, woohoo, we're geniuses, it's going down. And their target is it's going to go down here. But, you know, and of course you still have your buy limit grid down here to buy here and to cash out here. So it's all happening simultaneously. So your sell limits are going to be up here today on the euro. They would start there. If you drill down to the smaller time frames and you see this when it happens, okay, so now we're going to make a run for the high of the week. Now this will be pretty bombastic to the upside. I'm expecting a huge blast because look where you're at. This is a 10 pip grid, mind you, on the daily. And just to get perspective on this thing, you know, that's as zoomed in as I can get. But do you really think this is going down? So this would be a 3. I got 3 climbing candles, and you got this big fat doji here. Now you look at the monthly, it's mind-blowing. If you took this out this week, if we would have crushed through here, not to say you can't later on, but we've daredeviled to get triple bottom on the monthly right now. First doji entry. Now even a doji bot would have bought this fucking thing, but now how tight was his stop, you know? I mean, this is, I'm always thinking to myself, how tight are the stops these things are going to run? Because they're great trades, no doubt. Of course, you had to wait how long for that doji to form? Jesus Christ, it's 2 weeks down, finally a doji. If you go to the daily, you're like, okay, well, look at this monster doji. This is like a gravestone. You don't see a lot of that. Here was the last candle for the, you have to really fix the scale after that psycho rally there. That was just a big giant trap. So with the 5 pip grid down here at the bottom, see, this is 5 pips. Now, 5 pips do matter in any trade. I don't know why people are not thinking about it's not enough to make 10 pips in the market. Like, you got these grandiose, I mean, some of these Batwings people have, it's they're putting it on a weekly chart, and I'm like, you know, you may not live to see that order fill. You may be like, you know, you got like a cane, and it's 18 years from now, and you're like, well, shit, look at that, I told you that was gonna see that thing, and then it's like, oh yeah, right. But that's just to get into the fucking thing, right? And then you got to get out, like the way these people do it. The trade, they're like, okay, well, we got an area up here that we could sell. I'm like, what are you gonna do for the next 3 days? Well, we're just gonna sit on our hands and wait. You know, we're very patient traders. I guess it's not me. It's never going to work, because if I'm looking at the half-hour chart and I see a low-risk entry, who's not going to take that? What are you, fucking that lazy? You can't fucking see a double bottom? Like, I mean, you could show a child this. You see that black line? You get rid of the candles. So take the candles out of the picture. It's a little bit less disturbing. And just look at this thing. Do you really think you need Fibonacci to trade this shit? This is dumb shit. So I was talking to this guy last night. I said, you see this top from Asia? I said, this is where we're going to get in. Now, you could say I'm Mr. Hindsight, but he'd vouch for me. I said right there, I said this window here, and I say I would start buying, actually aggressively, right here at this top, because granted, you know, this is going to fill this vacuum. If you look at this thing here, we know this exists. This is no secret. And it was also the breakout point. Notice the breakout pullback, and you get the high. This is the stop entry, guys. This is the confirmation guy getting in on the 30. Perfect trade. Breakout, pull back, ATR drops, pull the trigger. Or the robot pulls the trigger. And he does this trade, and here his money management is on the black line, and he gets stopped out up here, and he's happy as fuck. And he might have gone long on this other pullback, and now he's getting trapped, and now it's a clusterfuck in Asia. Asia's always a clusterfuck where they trap. So if you have sell limits here at the high of the end of New York session, and you sell up into that, and then you can see the stop bots. You see, here's your bat wing. Here's your, well, I call this a lizard back trade. This is the head of the lizard. This is his fins. But that hole's going to fill to some degree. Well, where is it going to exhaust its fill? Right about here at the buoyancy level, plus this pullback that created that breakout pullback thing that happened here, created in essence a doji, so to speak. This breakout pullback was another really, especially for the guy that's short here, went short here, thinking, okay, see, we're just going to play this trap game. So it's kind of like who moves first, and then you create this rhythm of traps. And so we trap up here, and then we come down here, and now obviously the first place people are going to buy is at least 10 pips deep, or they're going to buy every 10 pips. Now you could have an order that just every 15 minutes or every hour you're throwing out this 10 pip grid order, and say you got a master stop down here because you don't want to, you've got targets like this, you know, you got targets like this that would make sense for that order. You know, if you put it in, say, logarithmically instead of linear, it's going to look like it's going to buy here, it's going to buy here, it's going to buy here, and then it's going to really load the wagon. Like here's a trap trade. You buy this and you dump. You sell the top. You sell this. You don't know if this is going to be a shoulder, and you know that's a shoulder. You're saying that I think this is a shoulder or head. So would you sell a head? Well, yeah. You in this whole myth about, well, you can't pick tops and bottoms. You don't have a choice. How in the fuck you can make any money? You can't pick tops and bottoms. Well, nobody knows where the market's going. I know, that's the point. You don't know where it's going. So why wouldn't you just put a buy limit here? Well, see, what if it keeps going down? Well, what if? You don't fucking know. You don't have to know. The only thing you ever would need to know is that the dirt road that you're on that has the potholes that are destroying your suspension. Anybody drive down a dirt road? They got kind of paving everything now, but Ajax is paving the world. So you just really have to look at a dirt road and say, wow, look at these. Now, those would be the harmonics, right? Created by the tires, the certain size of tire and the certain wheelbase that everybody. Now, if different wheelbase cars go down this dirt road, you're going to have a different assortment of potholes. And you can see that, too. You can see where the big trucks have been because there's these monster holes that, or this is just an offshoot of people getting bounced out of the other one and their suspension comes in and makes this thing. So that's what the market is. The market is just a bunch of potholes, a bunch of voids to be filled. It's just a natural phenomena. And people don't want to hear that. They want to hear that the golden ratio is, oh, it's okay to use that. That's natural phenomena. But they don't want to know that it's chaotic, and they just scared shitless that, oh, how can I make money in a chaotic world? Well, it's easier, right? Because chaos is your friend, because you know that if you're afraid of missing out of a trade, there's no such thing because the market's constantly going up and down. So it's just where you place your orders. And you can see that the potholes on the road, the way this stuff's laid out, is that what do you think comes after a pothole? Well, a flat spot. If it was all one big pothole, the road would be flat. I don't know if this makes any sense. But I don't want to sound too esoteric, but I mean, seriously, think about it, people. It's my tequila, but see, now we're breaking out. Now, are they trapping these guys? Should I put a sell limit out there? Okay, so I'll put a sell limit right at the last known high. Now, this is a scalpish sell limit, granted. There's a 2-hour sell limit here. I'll sell every 10 pips for 2 hours. 2 hours. I'm giving it 2 hours to go smashing up. Well, it's probably going to go smashing up. Anyways, look at this poor thing. Look at the monthly. Look at this thing. I mean, do you realize that this thing clipped by, the spread's what? That's 5 pip window. That's a 10 pip handle. I saw Jason Greystone use the word handle. Hopefully he downloaded my stuff so he could fucking make some money instead, and he could break off from these completely ridiculous. They're selling like the advanced pattern reader. Do you need an advanced pattern to see that the market found liquidity in a fucking 2 pip window down here on the monthly? Look at this thing. Are you kidding me? If you go back on the euro, look at this. Are you serious? There's no support until you get down. And mind you, look at this perfect, put a Gann grid up there. You'd see a perfect 45-degree angle right off these boxes. It's like dreamland. 45-degree risk there. Wait, I got that lined up wrong. But yeah, 45-degree risk on that. So here we are trapping the bulls right now in that wick. So it looks like it's going to have quite the throttle here to get through. I think we're coming all the way to here and beyond. It's going to be a bloodbath. Don't forget, look at the 4-hour. You're going to take out the high this week, and you already took out. So they already trapped these guys. Here was the ultimate trap trade for the people that are on the. I think this is a bigger pip grid here. This is here, let me just go back to this. If I put this to the 4-hour and fix the scale, so you can drill down on the scalps here. But this is a pretty rambunctious rally, but this is a huge trap. But you got to know that you have sell orders underneath the closing price, which is the yellow line. The closing price, but you didn't get filled there. But this window here, this wick window, this is what I'm going to focus on, is this window here. This is about 20 pips, and this is where your array of sell limits are. Now it's kind of scary because the volatility is high. Say you put a 10 pack in there, 1K's 3 pips apart, and you start selling from here all the way to here. This is about 30 pips, and you committed to sell all the way into this bottom. So you only filled partial fill on your trap, but you're prepared for a big trap if you held that to this trap. So it's trap to trap trading, really. So they trap these guys on the 1 minute chart here. It looks like they're going to follow through, though. So it's really pretty same amount of risk here. Pretty brutal if you're into a 5 pip stop world here, but you have to realize that this is the 4-hour chart. It's really not set up for those kind of tight stops. Not to say that this 10 pip window here wasn't the ultimate place to put in the 50 pip stops, but you didn't have to. If your stop was up here, you could have rode it to here. Just because you have a 5 pip stop doesn't mean you're not allowed. Just because you have a 30 pip stop doesn't mean you're not allowed to put in a super good entry. No reason to do this kind of ballpark shit with these Fibonacci's, because you're just getting really sloppy about it. That's why you shouldn't do it. This trap here made quite a bit of money. Then another trap, nice, right? Here, if you consider this top to be the breakout fractal track, now there's fractal traders that are like, we're going long, see? We're going to here. Sorry, wham. I mean, that's the whole trick here is, where is the fractal bot doing? Well, he's going to sell here, right? Well, we have to buy that. He's going to get trapped here, say, in a window. You can see it coming. Here's the trap. We're going to sell here and then ride it back to, say, conservatively here, which is this doji-ish thing here, this mess. So anytime you see these zigzag, 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 you know that's a pretty important price to start thinking about. Well, if this bottom became a top in time, and that's the kick drum there, and the highs, there's a double bottom in highs, a double top in lows. Everything's coming together here. You know, a double top in lows, you just have to get rid of this swing high. You know, this is a 1, 2. See, that's a triple top in high and lows. Triple top and lows. See, it rolls over. Sure, you could put your sell limits up here, but if you're looking to just keep on making money on these, filling that void, and it finally fills that big void it needed to fill. So now we're done with that, maybe. And maybe we're going to have to go all the way back up here, but it's going to be a struggle. There's going to be so many cliffs and valleys and ledges. So you're really trading the ledges. And this gasp right into there. I mean, you would not get filled on the sell limits if you had them up here. So if you waited a whole nother week, you finally got that trap trade, the kind of a monster trap trade for the sellers. So to be a buyer and a seller on this whole ride down, just because you're in a downtrend, doesn't mean shit, because if you're in a downtrend, granted this move here is monster, but look at this. If you made enough money on this rally here, you rode that thing up there and you cashed out. Now, that's a 4-hour chart, so what the hell, but look at these trap and runs. And here it's really debatable, because at this point you're at the ultimate capitulation of this thing. So you don't know if this is going to be the head. You don't know that yet. But you do know that you can speculate, and you have to speculate. You have to gamble that this is a shoulder or this is a head. Now, if you gambled that this was a shoulder and this was a head, you're fucking right, and you made money. Assume this is the shoulder, looking for a head. Okay, you made money on that trap trade. Your buy limits are sitting there, and you're cashing out there. Now, imagine trading in both directions. That's the ultimate. You're selling here, but this is like you're playing chess with somebody, and you just switch teams. You go from black to white. Now, that's not something that's really good good thinking, right? You wouldn't want to do that where one day you drive your car backwards and the other day you drive your car forwards. You've been told, we're on a downtrend. Only take trades from the direction of some, just arbitrary moving average. It could be this one. It could be this one. It could be, I got, the short period moving averages are turning up. Well, yeah, they're going to turn up on this. And you go like, oh, see, I went long like you said, and they crush me. Yeah, because that moving average rule system is like, there's like 1 or 2 trades on this whole chart. I mean, I can imagine the perfect moving average is set so that it captures this, and you just tell people, listen, every time it gets near the moving average, sell it. Oh man, that trend system you sold me. God, what a fucking beautiful. Of course, it presupposes that you're going to know how much profit to take out of each plunge. Here you're going to be pissed that you didn't ride for the whole thing. This one you didn't hit your target. So you moved your targets up, and then it changed, and it's the targets is as expensive, I guess. Yeah, this is as difficult as the entry. So what if you did buy here, and you're a conservative exit is to exit here where everybody else exited, and then it kicks back, and then it goes for a big run. But what if you held through this pullback? Well, maybe you don't want to ride it down for, if you're in, like that guy was in 400 standard lots, maybe you don't want to ride it back for a $1 million pullback. I think he'd be down about $50,000 here on this pullback. So, he's up 60 grand. Now he's down 40 grand. And if you held through the whole swing, sure, looks great. You don't know if this is the shoulder. If you put a sell limit down here, you don't get filled. Or you put a sell limit right there. Maybe you didn't get filled. That's a very tight window there. So you may not get filled on some of these. Here's a great fill. But back and forth, up and down. And when the market starts to calm down, you're going to have to go for different width stops. But just to get your feet wet, you got to get your feet wet, is that instead of spending $97 a month on some stupid fucking room of people that don't even really, people asking questions like, oh, so what's your formula? What moving average do you use? I mean, I feel ashamed. Like, I've been there in rooms with people 20 years ago that said to the guy that was giving the talk, and this is a tech meeting, like technical analysts, these people, just wrote books. They're really just people. When you met them, you're like, oh my God, this guy's just a guy. Look at this guy be like fucking Wizard of Oz. And so he's, people in the audience are saying stuff like, well, what's your settings on your MACD? Like, okay, that, it's like, if you have a car, people say, well, what kind of gas are you putting in it? Well, you don't know. Maybe they've got it souped up. I mean, it's so personal, individual. But in the end, if these are really markets and there's really, people want to try to regulate them with their indicators, like, people love regulation. I guess they wouldn't have signed up for all this nanny state shit they have in the United States. I mean, they seem to like the idea that, well, it's got a governor on it, or it's got an idiot light, or it's got this or that, and you just grow up in a world like that. Next thing you know, you're putting some indicator on the screen thinking that, well, I'll just lean on this fucking thing because I don't have to think. But when there's smoke coming out of your hood of your engine and your idiot light, you go, well, look at my gauges, say everything's okay. Yeah, but the car's on fire. How does that work? So I guess if your car's on fire and you're saying, this would be analogous to, you just blew up your account. You're like, yeah, but I mean, these indicators, I mean, come on, are you kidding me? I just paid like $1,000 for this indicator. Now what? And then, of course, not to mention that it's just inconceivable that you could build a car that could handle driving on Jupiter. It can drive on Mars. It can drive all terrain. It can drive in zero, like absolute zero, like, frozen. Well, the market's capable of freezing and going sideways for 20 pips for 2 hours and then moving 800 pips in 3 days. The market's capable of that. So there's nothing else in the world like that. I don't see anything else in the world behaving like that. And so that kind of behavior is just disturbing. And of course, people, I guess they want to figure, well, if we just calm this down with some moving averages, maybe we can get this thing to be tradable. We can make sense out of it. I can make fucking sense out of this. It's like a train wreck. It's just an utter mess. It's like somebody threw up on the wall. You gonna trade that? Are you gonna? Oh, what's artwork? Yeah, that's what. If it could be like artwork, think of it as the really bad abstract art, the anti-art after the war, where people just completely left their. They said, "I can't trust anything," so the artwork's gonna look like a fucking mess. And I can't remember what they call that style of art, but where it's just brutal, like the brutal architecture too that came out of that era. It was just like, we're just make it look like a fucking instead of building a nice building and having it get bombed, we'll just build a building that looks like it's already been bombed. There you go. So we'll just head you off at the pass, and we'll just we'll beat you to it, right? I'll just punch myself before you punch me. There, see, you lost. So the back to the market. So the market's a mess, and it's vibrating up and down. It's a messy vibration. It sounds kind of naughty, but it's a messy vibration. And so how you can make heads or tails of this momentum, and the market does climax, and it does bounce, and it does do all those things, but it does it in such a dynamic manner that I can't imagine anybody building a robot. That's what I learned on my summer vacation, building a robot. It's undoable for me. But yeah, if you want to hack away at it, like I said that in the beginning, I think I said robots don't work. Well, of course, I haven't seen anybody that wrote a robot that can negotiate this amount of... It's like building a car that could drive down a dirt road, and the suspension's tuned to accommodate every size pothole it sees, and it has a look-ahead even. Don't forget the look-ahead factor that, digital audio, you can look ahead and you can pre-compress. You can take the whole thing in at once and curve fit it. It's like ultimate trading, compression. So the market's just not like that. It's just too big a mess. And I noticed it's after the big volatility spike there, that it's almost like a dog that's been beat to death, and it kind of like carefully comes back out of the other room thinking, is that safe? Like pretty slow moving. But yeah, they bitch slapped that. They got the euro all giddy to the upside, and then they ripped it down. It's kind of like the fame spike that somebody has when they go, oh, he's the greatest guy in the world. They go, he sleeps with children. Oh, okay, well, we just pulled out of that project. You have to really, these days, when you get a new idea, you have to put it out there and sell it to somebody really quick, like a hot potato, like you're scalping the idea. Just give the idea to somebody else that has money and just say, I'm out, see you, bye. And just cut me a check and we're done. I don't want to have any liability issues like you see the ad on TV. If you've been trading the moving average crossover system, call attorney Mellon and Schiff, and we will get your money back in a class action lawsuit. You get 3 cents back. It'll cost you more to cash the check at your bank. I walked in a bank once and they said, it's going to cost you. I said, wait a minute, it's going to cost me to cash this check? The check's not even that big. Yeah, they got transaction fees here. You got spreads at the bank. The spread at the bank on the dollar to the Canadian is 500 pips. When you walk in the bank, I said, what's the spread? They go, it's 500 pips. Oh, okay. I think I'd go back to my broker. He's giving me a spread of like, what, 4 pips on the, you're 500 at the bank? Well, the tellers aren't, the tellers aren't ugly, so depends what bank you go to, I guess. So yeah, that's my daily morning rant about the infamous, dangerous, evil Forex market that's manipulated all the time, up and down, thank God. So then they trapped them, see? They trapped them. Here's the scalp pullback. All the scalpers are making their money off this tippy top. So I would put my buy limits in like this and just walk away. Nothing I can do about it. Oh, the market's not trading, so they're not taking my order. Yeah, this is one thing about this broker. They go offline and they don't chime out. So they're offline right now. So that's a little bit of a hang up, but that keeps you from over trading, right? There you go. So they just put my order in. So I'd buy this trap down here for the next, here's 1 hour. Here's the 6 hour, buy the low. And so breakout. If this is the fake out, then they've got them, and they're going to just drag this thing all the way back down and take out the low of the day. This is going to go on and on and on. And this was the next trap line to put a sell limit is right here. So we could put a 8 pip stop on that. Put that at the round number. And I've already got a crop up here. So if I go to the 4 hour, and this is a this is 25 pip grid. So if I'm running 15 stops here, 2 hours, this will be definitely a big deal here. A lot of people are going to fight over this price. You can see that coming. So that's painfully obvious. You can just put it right here. Drag it back and put it there, and then it makes sense, right? You're putting it right at the lows. And here's an internal low. And this big smash down, was there a chance to even get on the short train here on the 4 hour? Sure, if you put a trap trade here, you could have done it. But otherwise, you had to go down to the 1 hour. That's another thing. You'd have to go down the 1 hour chart. People are like, well, I don't trade the 1 hour chart. Well, then you're never going to get in on a trap because there's no traps here unless you consider this marching up for a little bit of time here, the trap. You'd have to get in on a breakout, continuation, high risk, or depending, you'd have to run 50 pip stops on trying to ride this thing down. But this is the only last sell trap on here if you want to keep that rule system. This is the last trap down there. And now they started trapping the bears after all that. This is the big trap. It was almost easier to counter trend trade this. Let's see. This is the only counter trend trade here. This one they would have never filled you. This one, I guess, if you would have said, hey, that's the shoulder, this is the head, you get stopped out, then you get in a 50 pip window, you make about 125 pips. But here's running 25 pip stops on the 4 hour chart. That makes sense. Even here, if you had bracketed this, you could have got on the train and never looked back, really. Kind of here's a look back. Came back to your money management stop. They stop you out. So this idea of running trailing stops, that's maybe one ticket you're doing that on, but gosh, this thing is off the rails. Okay, so what's happening? 5 minute trap. Nope, sorry, it's going up now. So here we go, up. So at this point, you could chase it with a buy limit above. Sorry, buy stop above there. And a buy limit right here and just try to get out of something. So that's about it.